Thank you very much for the kind introduction and for the speakers that came before me. I would like to thank Maat for Peace for inviting us in this event and appreciates all the sharing by other speakers. Nonviolence International Southeast Asia was the co-implementer of the Arms Trade Treaty Voluntary Trust Fund project together with the Philippine government when it was first launched in 2017. So we co-implemented the project between mid-2017 and the first half of 2018. The objective was capacity building for national authorities to be able to fully comply with the obligations of the Arms Trade Treaty once the Philippines has ratified. Nonviolence International Southeast Asia, or NICEA, has also been diligently working with states in Asia to ensure that strong implementation of the UN Program of Action on Small Arms and Light Weapons continues, and we continue to work with states for arms regulations aimed at the eradication of illicit arms transfers and maintain it in the agenda. We also work with states to develop legislation and policy to prevent the diversion of weapons through strong criteria and efficient monitoring. And as Nourhan had earlier introduced, we work closely with the Philippines, who was the chair of the BMS 8 in the recent conference held in New York this last month. Part of the work of our organization in the region is to ensure that policies are addressing some of the issues that were not able to be put earlier in these international regimes. In the case of addressing gender issues related to gender. I think other speakers will also be speaking on gender perspectives and GBV. So I would like to focus my discussion on nuancing the challenges, the prospects and challenges of gender perspectives in these international regimes. So in Asia, a lot of there are a lot of states that have been implementing women, peace, and security and have a national action plan on women, peace, and security, which also has been considered in the development of national action plans and also in their implementations of the Arms Trade Treaty. Although in Asia, the universalization of the Arms Trade Treaty remains low, to date, the Philippines is the first state in Southeast Asia that ratified the ATT and the fourth in Asia. So the first three were Japan, South Korea, and China. And the Philippines is the fourth. So there is a low universalization of the Arms Trade Treaty in the region. And the understanding of, in the treaty, it does explicitly say that it is intended to ensure that arms do not fall in the wrong hands, specifically outlining that the dangers of arms falling in the wrong hands to contributing to gender-based violence. This underlying issue of GBV in Asia is also has to be nuanced. What does GBV look like in the region, especially with the different, with the region having such a diverse, being diverse culturally and also with posed with different problems in its subregions. The issues in, of course, the Middle East, the MENA region, in Southeast Asia, in Northeast Asia, in Central Asia, are very different from each other. Our organization has worked with states on ensuring that we look at the context based of GBV, based on what is happening on the ground. There is that we would like to stress that importance in that GBV might look very different from someone from the previous region in Africa as it does in Southeast Asia, for example. In order to have this more have these regimes such as the Arms Trade Treaty to be fully implemented, there has to be that consideration of the differences. Even the definitions of gender might vary in the different regions. There is a current in the BMS8, there was a current debate on what a caveat of what gender what the language, the word should be, how it should be described in the text. So we should see this not as a roadblock to our advocacy, but as an opportunity to educate. As we have in civil society, we have also been calling for the mainstreaming. This should be seen as an opportunity for us to put in there what we do mean by gender perspectives and what assist states in elaborating how and these instruments are to address the problems faced by different genders when there are armed conflicts. So this has been a very difficult language to include in international regimes, with a lot of debates on how it should be put, how a caveat should be put in. For example, in some of the texts, some caveat were put in the gender perspectives, putting in women, men, boys, and girls. So those for us working in civil society, of course, would like as much to have a broader definition of what this covers. So there is that where we have to focus some of the work, especially in the implementation, because some of these international regimes have already put in place, are already put into the text and are already being implemented. So I think that this implementation will then have to rely on the interpretation of the states once they formally ratify and start implementation, or some of the states are signatories. For example, in Southeast Asia, there are several states that are still signatories but have not yet acceded to the treaty or ratified to the treaty. So there could be that interpretation, and this is where I believe women and civil society could assist and make powerful strides in helping nuance what GBV, what gender perspectives means for these states, and how it could be addressed through engagement, trying to understand the nuanced the context, the local context and realities that it is facing on the local areas where armed conflict might be occurring, or even in non-armed conflict situations, who might be sympathetic also to the challenges of armed conflict that their regions are facing. There should be, especially in arms trading, and there should be some effort, regional efforts, not just the global effort, but there should be a regional effort in addressing the challenges in Southeast Asia, where we are highly interconnected by our borders, the seas and the lands. There are 4 out of 10 states, 4 still suffer from armed conflict and are going through peace processes that promote politically negotiated resolutions to these armed conflicts. So instruments such as the Arms Trade Treaty should be contributing to lessening the tools of armed violence in the region. So, and looking at it from a not just at the process of, this is a highly political process where military response is also needed, but looking at it from a process of what the community needs specifically when they are and when they have been suffering from armed conflict for so long, and they are awash with conventional weapons. How will that international regimes such as the ATT help stop or at least lessen the human suffering? And how will this difference, how are the differences of people in the community across all genders benefit from these international regimes? So, and also when we say, and how will it stop GBV in that context that they experience it? Because sometimes when we talk about GBV, it might not, if it will be very different for some, and it could be in some regions that are almost post-conflict. It could actually be mean that GBV is a very high exposure to a lot of weapons. In some, it could be a lot of human rights abuses targeting women and other genders. So nuancing these definitions and how it will help us address some of these issues, and that will boost confidence in these international regimes, which are supposed to end human suffering, to lessen, to save lives. So I think with that, I would like to give back the floor to my good friend Nourhan. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this platform.